Here I have two feature classes. I have a polygon shapefile with a single feature, that's this blue catchment polygon. Then I have a second shapefile with a number of streams in it. And you'll notice that some of these streams are inside the catchment and some of them are outside. So the goal of this video is to show how to open these shapefiles, loop over all of the stream features, then we're going to filter down to just a single feature, and finally we're going to perform a spatial filter where we loop over just those features that are inside the blue catchment, ignoring those that are outside. Already put in the paths to the two shapefiles that we're going to use. We're actually just going to use one library. We're going to use OGR. This is the free and open source vector processing library. It's the sister to GDAL, which is the raster equivalent. And the first thing we're going to do is open up a driver and ogr.getDriver by name. And because we're dealing with shapefiles here, we're going to use the Esri shapefile driver. If you're using a file geodatabase or Postgres or a Spatial you would choose the appropriate driver here. Then the next thing we're going to do here is open up a data set. So ds_flowline equals driver.open. And from that data set, we're going to get the layer for the flow lines. Call it LR. Now, because this is a shapefile, we only have one layer in our data set. So we don't need to specify a name here. If we were dealing with a file geodatabase, we could just put in the string here of the actual name of the layer that we're going to get. We can also get, now we have the layer open, we can get the number of features. And we can print that out to the screen. So we'll go ahead and run that, and you see that we have 967 features. Now looping through all of the features is as simple as going like that. And to get the value off of an individual feature, we just call get field. And I happen to know that there's a object ID field. So we can run that. Oh, I've typed that wrong. So now this time when we run through it, we loop through all of the features in the feature class. So what we're going to do this time is we're going to pull out an individual feature and just look at one single feature here. So when I identify a feature inside that flowline feature class, we see one here, we can see its object ID. So back in the code, we've got the ID off of the layer, and we could put in an if statement here and put our logic nested inside the if statement. That's not going to be very efficient if we have a very large feature class and we have to go through every feature just to find that one. So what we can actually do here is use an attribute filter. And that's as simple as set attribute filter. And the syntax here is very specific. We're setting this field in double quotes equal to the value. Now the way that you specify this differs based on your storage. This is the shapefile version. And the easiest way to come up with this is to use either a select tool or a query definition in your desktop GIS. And it's really important you test these attribute filters out first. You'll not get an error if you get it wrong. You'll actually end up just looping over all the features. Okay? So we'll save our file here. And now we'll run our script again. This time, we only got one flowline feature, and it was the one we wanted with the ID. So the final task we're going to do is loop over just those features that are inside the catchment polygon. So before we can use the boundary catchment, we actually need to load it just like we loaded the flow lines. So we're going to open the dataset first. Then we're going to get the layer. Then we're going to get just that first feature, that catchment feature from the boundary shapefile. And so we need the first feature out. So we're going to call it we haven't touched this feature class yet, so the cursor will be at the start of the shapefile. So getting the next feature will get us that first one. And then we want the geometry of the boundary. And that's going to get back the OGR representation of that geometry in whatever spatial reference the shapefile is in. And so you should note that both of the shapefiles I have are in the same spatial reference. I'll have other videos that explain how to handle it if they don't. Now, down here we had the attribute filter that was going to link to this, retrieve just this one feature. So I'm going to comment that out, and instead of an attribute filter this time, we're going to use a spatial filter. And it's as simple as passing in that geometry object. So here we're ready to run. Going to run through, and I guess I should have printed out. Maybe what we'll not do here is, instead of that, what we'll do here is just print out that we have 893 features coming out this time, not 900 and whatever we had in the total shapefile. So that's a way that you can open a shapefile, loop over all the features, filter to individual features, or filter to geometries of other features as well. I should point out that this spatial filter will get back any features that intersect in any way the argument feature. So they don't have to be entirely contained within that catchment polygon. They can be half inside, half outside, etc.